Hello everyone, and welcome to today's presentation, How Xero Improves Your Business. My name is Alana Turner. I'm one of our direct account managers here at Xero in Melbourne. I'm going to start today by giving you a bit of an introduction to Xero. Xero is the world's leading online accounting system. We are dual listed on the ASX and NZX. In Australia, we have a market capitalisation of just over 4 billion Australian dollars. We are rapidly expanding in terms of the size of our workforce. We have a new release of the software every 6 to 8 weeks. For all Xero customers, you can have an unlimited number of users accessing your account, and you can manage the access that different users have. And also, Xero has a fully integrated payroll system, along with bank feeds from over 5,000 institutions. We have a large number of paying companies globally, and we're doubling our customer base every year. So we're gaining in popularity, which is something that we're very happy about. So today I'm going to take you through some common issues that small businesses face and show you how Xero can help to resolve these issues and improve your business. We'll jump into an overview of the Xero Dashboard, and then I'll take you through some of Xero's key features in more depth. Next, we'll review some of our add-on partners, followed by some extra training and resources you can find on our website. So today I want to talk to you about common issues that small businesses face and how you can resolve those in Xero. Now, you might have experienced these issues in your own business or businesses that you've worked at in the past. Managing software updates. So a lot of clients have used desktop software in the past. Making sure that all the devices you use it on are up to date can be time-consuming. And if they aren't, it can cause issues like data corruption. So managing software updates can be a big challenge. Limited access off-site. Lots of clients might work on job sites, out in the field, or just on the go. So they want to be able to do things while they are out of the office, not just sitting in front of their computer. Managing data files and backups. So not only do you need to worry about software updates with desktop software, you also need to make sure that you're managing who has the most up-to-date version. Now, this is especially important if you're sending files back and forth, perhaps with your accountant, and some clients don't do enough backup. For a lot of clients, if they lost their laptop, they would lose all their data. Invoices not being paid on time. Now, this is not exclusive to small business owners. Even large enterprises face this issue. Xero can really help face this problem with its online invoicing, creating a tighter link between you and your clients, and we'll come to that later in today's presentation. Cash flow. Lots of small business owners need to make quick decisions, and this requires real insight into real-time cash flow. Making decisions on old data is not the best, especially, let's say for example, you're a small business owner going to the bank to get a business loan. You want the most up-to-date information at your fingertips. Training staff can take a lot of time. Xero tries to make it simple and easy to do, and we'll talk about that as we go through today's presentation. And constant data entry. So this usually takes up a lot of time. Some small business owners employ a full-time administrator just for data entry, but Xero makes it more powerful and more efficient so that you can focus on the growth of your business. So let's talk about how Xero improves your business and jump in to take a look at the demo company. So this is the demo company in Xero. It's available to any client that uses Xero. Here, we're in the dashboard now. Now, this shows a lot of key information that any small business owner needs. It shows your bank accounts. So here you can see we need to reconcile 28 items. Over here, we have our account watch list. Now, I find that sometimes this is a missed feature in Xero. Some clients don't really know what this does. But essentially, it allows you to take out a particular expense or income account out of your chart of accounts and just keep an eye on it. So for example, here you'll see we have office expenses, PAYG withholdings payable, and sales. Another popular account to pop on the account watch list is wages. So you could track how much you're spending, both for the month and for year to date. Here you'll notice we have money coming in. So you'll notice the terminology that we use at Xero as well. It's not made just for accountants. We make it easy for small business owners, so you don't have to be an accountant to use the system. So we have money coming in, and down here, money going out. So all your sales invoices and all your bills. And down here you'll notice we have expense claims. So these would be used if you were spending your personal money and it needed to be reimbursed from the business. So that's an overview of the dashboard. And now we're going to dive into a few of these features in more detail. Just before we do, what I would like to get you in the mindset of is really imagining where you can use this. So think of different places other than your office where you would use Xero. For example, maybe at your home office, on a job site, or while you're waiting for someone, in between meetings, sitting in the car, waiting at the airport, wherever you are. Now think of the different devices that you use: laptops, iPads, tablets, smartphones, so your iPhone or Android. You can use Xero on any device. So that's what I want to get across to you. Think about where you need this information, where it's helpful to have access to this information. Think of anywhere, anytime, on any device, and just keep that in the back of your head as we progress with the presentation. Let's hop into our bank accounts. This is the bank reconciliation screen. So you'll notice there are two parts to it. Here on the left-hand side, we have all of our bank statement lines. So these are the transactions that will appear from our bank feeds. Essentially, every transaction that goes through your bank will come into Xero. And that goes back to the point of constant data entry that I mentioned earlier. So with Xero's bank feeds, which lots of people have heard about, you don't need to manually enter your statements. Over here on the right-hand side, you'll notice that we have all of the transactions in Xero. I'm going to go back to the dashboard for a moment. I want you to imagine yourself as a small business owner. You'll notice here our overdue invoices are over $7,000. Let's click on that. Remember, it's all about real insight into your cash flow. So we can see here that Ridgeway University owes the bulk of this amount. I'm going to go back into reconciling my bank account. And I can notice here that Ridgeway University has in fact already paid us. Now if I click on OK, this is going to do two things. Rather than go back to the invoice for Ridgeway University, match it up, and then reconcile, Xero does that all by clicking OK. It's all about making it easy and saving time, so you don't have to apply payment before you reconcile anything. When we go back to the dashboard now, you can see that automatically the amount for our overdue invoices has dropped. So you can see just how quickly you get real-time insight into your cash flow with those bank feeds coming through on a daily basis. Xero will also automatically match whatever it can. So I'm back into reconciling these items, and you'll notice I have $4,500 here, but I can't find anything to match it to. Basically, there's no outstanding transactions. So I can do a deeper dive using Find and Match. Firstly, I know that this came from Smart Agency. So I can search by name and type in here Smart. Right away, we see it brings up two bills from Smart. So if I click on them both, Xero automatically matches them for me. Essentially, what I'm doing here is a batch payment. So I simply use the Find and Match feature and match them. If they weren't matching completely, you can do an adjustment. So this might be necessary for things like bank fees. But in this case, I'm all matched up. So if I simply click on Reconcile, I've applied payment to those. So if I go back to my dashboard now, our money going out has been reduced. Xero has some other great features that make it easy so that you're not constantly entering data. Here we have a bank fee, an NAB bank fee. Now you'll see that it's actually remembered a previous transaction here and applied it. So basically the last time I did this, this is what I coded it to. But we can also create a rule that will do this ahead of time. So every time a bank feed comes through, it will look at every transaction and make sure that it doesn't correspond to a rule. So let's create a rule. You'll see here my payee equals NAB, my description equals bank fee. Down here in the description line, I'm going to just call this my bank fee. I'm going to code it to my bank fees expense account. And you'll notice here region. So just so you know what this is as we go through the presentation, this is an example of a tracking category in Xero that allows you to split up different cost centers. So for example, if you wanted to split this bank fee out into multiple locations, you could do so with this tracking category. Now I can have this rule applied to all accounts, but in this case I'm going to choose my business bank account, and I can give the rule a title. So I'm going to call this my NAB bank rule. And if I click on save, now it's all done for me. So if I go back into reconciling my business bank account, and have another look at my NAB bank fee, you'll notice here that rather than just remembering it, it's actually applied my bank rule. So this is when you're not matching an invoice or a bill to anything. You can do this with any cash transactions that come through. Not only is the bank feed coming in, and it's automatically importing rather than me manually importing it, it's also creating a transaction in my accounting system to match it all up for me. So all I need to do is click on OK. Now I'm going to show you an example of auto recognition, or the memorization of everything. So we have a transaction here from Cooper Street Bakery. I'm going to choose to code this to entertainment, and I'm going to say it was for staff coffees. If I click on OK, I've just created a transaction right on the fly. But now that I've created it, I want to see how Xero memorizes things in action. So if I refresh my screen, you'll notice here we have another statement line for Cooper Street Bakery, and here it's already remembered the same thing. Now we do have an upcoming release that will come out to turn this feature off, but you can override these if they're not correct. So you can always change it if you do need to match it to something else. You'll also notice the Discuss feature in our bank reconciliation screen. So this can be used to type in a quick note if necessary. So I was talking about sending data files back and forth and the hassle that can be with your accountant. You can just put in a note here with this Discuss feature, save it, and when your accountant logs on, they can see exactly what they need to do in order to help you. So there are lots of really great features in Xero that make bank reconciliation fast and easy. The same applies with cash coding. Here at Xero, we like to call cash coding power tools for bookkeepers. But cash coding essentially allows you to lump a lot of things together and do it all in one shot. So let me show you how. First, I can arrange this list by payee. You'll notice that I have a bunch here from Central City Parking. If I click on the top line and select this, hold down the Shift key on my keyboard and select the bottom line, it's going to highlight all of these for me. Now in the description line, I'm going to use the top line here. I know that this was for parking in the city. So if I type that in and then push the tab button on my keyboard to tab across, you'll notice that automatically it will take that description for all 5 lines below. The same applies for the account. I'm going to code this to my motor vehicle expenses account. Tab across. Same for our GST. And once again, you'll notice here our tracking category of region. So in this example, we are using region, and I'm going to put this all to East Side. So now that I've coded those, all I need to do is click on Save and Reconcile. Basically, what I've done is taken one line and reconciled it and applied it to all 5 lines that are the same. So instead of doing it 5 times, I do it once and apply it to 5. So as you can see, cash coding saves you time and really reduces the amount of data entry. You can also split out transactions in Xero. So if you had a transaction that needed to go to multiple accounts, all you need to do is click in the reference cell, push the / button on your keyboard, and you'll notice this pops up to allow us to split out the accounts. Now you can add lines if you want to, and you can add as many lines as you like. You can have a fixed value, or you can do it by percentage. So for example, if I was to type in 50%, you'll notice it will automatically take 50% of the total. Once that's done, you can reconcile from there. So you can also do a split transaction in Xero. So that's a review of the banking features in Xero. Now I'm going to continue on and go into invoicing. So we talked before about not getting paid on time. And I'm going to show you an example of how online invoicing, which is a really neat feature of Xero, can help eliminate or at least reduce this. You'll notice these tabs here across the top in Xero. No matter where you are in the system, you can use these to navigate to different areas at any time. In this case, I'm going to click on Accounts and go into Sales. Once I'm in Sales, I can see that these are invoices in draft stage, awaiting approval, awaiting payment, and overdue. I can also see when they're coming in, and if I hover over them, I can see when they are due. In this case, I'm going to create an invoice on the spot. If I start typing in here, you'll notice that Xero is looking to bring up a list of contacts I have in the system. In this case, I'm going to invoice ABC Furniture. If I tab across, it'll take today's date. And if I pop in here, +15, Xero has some really neat speed keys that can save lots of time. So for example, +15 and tab across will take 15 days after the date of the invoice. I can add a reference in here if I need to. So perhaps if I had something like a purchase order number, I could pop it in the reference field. Down here, I have a list of inventory items. So these codes can be used for both services and physical stock. And if I need to, I can override things like this unit price. You'll notice once again we have region, so our example of the tracking category. So I could apply this to different cost centers if I needed to, but in this case, I'm simply going to approve, and now that invoice has been posted. So I could have saved that as a draft as well, but I just approved it straight off the bat. Now this invoice has to go out to a client. I'm going to look at one that I prepared earlier. So let's go to our invoices that are awaiting payment. So before this presentation started, I sent this invoice out to the same client, ABC Furniture. And if I click on it, you'll notice this is the invoice I prepared earlier. So if I click on this button here to show history, I can see exactly when this invoice was created, approved, and sent, as well as to what address the invoice was sent. So I can see a full history of the invoice. Now let's pretend we're on the customer side of things. So if I've emailed ABC Furniture that invoice, this is essentially what they will see. You'll notice in this email there's a link here. They can choose to view this invoice as a PDF, but you don't have to send a PDF invoice. You can simply click on this link, which takes us to view the online invoice. And from here, the customer can print a PDF or a CSV file if they wish. So this is what the client sees. Now let's jump back into Xero. If I now refresh my screen, you'll notice that I can now see not only has the invoice been sent, but it has also been viewed. So this is a big difference between sending regular invoices and sending online invoices. Normally, with regular invoices, it stops there. You send a PDF to a client, and who knows when they open it, what they do with it afterwards. But with Xero, you can get a little more insight into right after it. It's all about creating that stronger connection between yourself and your client. So now, when I click on Show History, we can also see exactly what time and date this invoice was viewed. So if that invoice were to go overdue, I could have a much more powerful conversation with the client, because if they say they didn't get the invoice, I can say my system says they have. Let's go back into this online invoice, but say we needed to change it. So perhaps the client rings up and says, I received this invoice for $700, but you said it would be for $650. So you say, no problem, I can change that for you. Back in the invoice here, you'll notice we have an Invoice Options button, and one of these options is to add a credit note. So I'm going to choose today's date, and the invoice was for the development work on site. I need to credit the client $50, and if I click on Approve, the credit note has been approved for me. The great thing again about having these online invoices is creating that tighter link between you and your client. So you do not have to send out another PDF to your client and wait for them to get it. You can just say, okay, Mr. Client, I've sent the credit note out, so you can pay it right away. So if I go back now to the client side of things, and again, this is the original email, the original invoice that we sent to our client. If I click on this link, now the client doesn't need a Xero account to see this. They can view it at any time. They can of course start a Xero account at any time, and they can create a free login. Or if they have a Xero account already, if they are a Xero user, they can create a Xero to Xero connection. In which case, if you send an invoice, for example, it will automatically show up as a bill in their Xero account. So now we're back on the client side, and we can see automatically that the amount due has gone down to $650. So that is a live link between you and your client. Another thing about this online invoice is the Pay Now feature. So you'll notice this button here. Essentially, this helps you to get paid faster. And it is great to give your clients the tools to help you get paid more quickly. If I click on this Pay Now, this takes me to a payment service that I might use on the back end. In this case, we've used PayPal, but you can choose from a variety of different payment service providers. So once the client enters their details here, it will go straight back into our PayPal account or bank account. But the key thing is, it will not only automatically mark the invoice as paid, but it will automatically know that because the invoice is paid, money goes into your account, and it will automatically mark it as reconciled. It's quick and easy, there's not as much manual data entry, and it really gives you insight into your cash flow. So that's a little about online invoicing. Now I'm going to go into bills. This is pretty straightforward. There's nothing too revolutionary going on with bills. Most of the time you buy something and you pay for it. But there are lots of things you can do to make the system more efficient and easy. And one of those things is through repeating bills. As you can see here, we have a number of repeating bills that are already created in the system. Some will be saved as draft, and others are automatically approved, meaning that they'll post right away as soon as the system recognizes it and creates one for me. So creating a repeating bill is very simple. We need to select how often we would like this bill to repeat. In this case, I'm going to stick with once per month. Which date? Now I've chosen the 1st of July 2014, and what this is telling me is, well, we can see this date has already occurred, Basically, it's saying because this date has happened, it's not going to generate one for the month of July, but it will for the month of August. So I'm going to click on OK. There's a few options we can choose from for our due date. In this case, I'm going to select 15 days after the bill date. And you'll notice we can also select an end date for our repeating bill. So this is useful if you have a contract. Now, for this example, I'm going to say my repeating bill is from Telstra. And as a reference, I'm going to say it's for my mobile phone. In the description, I'm going to refer to it as my Telstra mobile phone. And I'm going to say it is $85 per month. Now your chart of accounts might be different to the one I use, but in this case, I'm going to code it to my office expenses account. Once again, you'll notice that we have our tracking category of region. So if you do have different cost centers or departments, you can assign them using a tracking category here. Now, up in this pink box, you'll notice I also have to choose whether I would like to save this as a draft or approve it. So if I save it as a draft, basically it's a template, so it doesn't get posted, meaning it's awaiting approval. But if I click on approve, it will approve automatically. So when I'm in the dashboard, for example, I will see it as awaiting payment. In this case, I am going to click approve and click on save. So now our repeating bill has been created. Let's say that I have a source document that I'd like to attach to this. I'm going to go into this Telstra repeating bill we just created. Now you'll notice this icon here. You might have seen this as well when we did invoices. This little thing is called the Files feature, which is the next thing I want to talk to you about. So with the Files feature, you can attach any source document you want to a variety of different transactions. In this case, let's say I have the actual Telstra bill. I have it on my desktop on my computer, so I can either drag and drop it across, or I can upload it using this button here. Here I have my Telstra phone bill. And now you'll notice that it has been uploaded to this repeating bill. So if I click on this, so now I have my phone bill attached. And if I click on save, back in our repeating bill list, you'll notice that my Telstra bill is here, repeating for me and forming every month. It's automatically approving, so it's automatically posting for me, and I have a little preview here of my actual Telstra bill. Now the Files menu isn't in the tabs across the top in Xero because it is more of a secondary feature. But if you go to this section here, this folder icon, this is where we can find where our files live. So you'll notice that you can have lots of different folders here. I'm going to create one for receipts, but you can have as many folders as you like. So any source documents you have, any contracts or invoices, you can create as many folders to store them as you like. Back in the inbox, you'll notice that we have this big long email address here. Now this is unique to your Xero account. So if you're out on the road, for example, and you had your mobile phone, let's say you pay for something and you want to load it up as an expense. It is compliant with ATO guidelines and rules that you have a visible picture as opposed to the physical copy. So you can take a picture of your receipt with your phone and send it to Xero. So if you send it to this email address, it'll show up here in your files inbox. Now obviously this address is pretty long, so you might not want to type it out every time you use it. What you can do is actually download this, which is a file card, and you can save it to your phone. Or if you prefer, you can manually type out the address once and then just save it as a contact in your phone. So what would happen if we were to email a receipt to our Xero inbox? I'm going to use a bakery receipt I have as an example. Now I'm going to upload the file here, But you can equally pretend that I've sent this receipt into the email address from my phone. So here now, when I log into Xero, I see my bakery receipt in my files inbox. I want to create a transaction for it straight away so that I do remember what it's for. So all I have to do is select this receipt. Click on Add to New, and it's a spend money transaction. I'm going to say I spent this from my business bank account. And I know that I spent it at Cooper Street Bakery. Now, down here I need to fill out my description. If I can't remember exactly what it was for, once again you'll notice we have our preview option for our source document here. So if I click on this, I can get a nice preview of my receipt. That's right, it was for staff coffees. So I can now go back into my spend money transaction and type in my description. And if I forget exactly how much it was for, again, a nice quick preview. That's right, it was for $15.75. I'm going to say it was for entertainment. And then I'm going to click on Save. So I've just saved that spent money transaction. I also have the source document, the actual receipt, attached here nicely in case I need to preview it. So now, if I go back into my dashboard and reconcile these items in my business bank account, you'll notice that for this Cooper Street Bakery transaction, it's now remembered it. It's all done for me. All I need to do is click on OK. So you can really see the power that that online files feature has. And it has lots of data storage. So the minimum is 1 gig of data on our starter plan, and it goes up from there. For example, you get 5 gig on our standard plan. And to give you a rough idea, 1 gigabyte is equivalent to about 20,000 Word documents. So it gives you lots and lots of data storage. So that's a little about Xero and some of its main features. You'll notice we also have our fully integrated payroll system. Now, I don't go into too much detail about payroll here, mainly because it is quite in-depth, but we do have some more education with regards to that, and the same applies for expense claims, which we touched on at the beginning of the presentation. So this is gone through by further presentations from our website. If you'd like to take some further resources and go into another presentation, you can visit our homepage, xero.com. Click on More and go down to our training and events, Xero U. Education for small businesses. And you can click on Explore Tell Me About Xero or Train Me on Xero to find further presentations and content. Of course, we also have our Help Centre guide, which you can access through Xero itself by clicking on the question mark icon and accessing our Help Centre. Alternatively, you can simply type in your address bar help.xero.com so you can find this page. So Xero is more than just a simple accounting software. It's also a connecting platform for a number of different things. We reviewed bank feeds and reconciling our bank statement lines today. We've got a number of partnerships with banks and financial institutions, and Xero's bank feeds let you automatically import your bank statements. So this saves you time rather than having to manually import them yourself. We also have a great community of add-on partners. So if you have very specific requirements for your business, these add-on partners can take Xero to the next step. How you find our add-on partners is very simple. Again, we go to xero.com, click on More, and click on Add-ons. So you'll notice here these add-ons are listed by most popular, but you can also sort them by groupings down on the left. In fact, today we used our online invoicing where we had our client pay by PayPal. Payment service provider add-ons can be found under payments. So you'll notice there's a variety here that you can choose from. And with all of our add-ons, you can see you can connect multiple things to our platform. So that's a bit about Xero. Right now we'll do a quick review of what we've learnt from today's presentation. So today I wanted you to have anywhere, anytime, any device in the back of your head. Xero is all cloud-based. So for anyone who doesn't quite understand the cloud, it's very simple. We store the data for you through a server, and you access all of your data and software through an internet connection. It's as simple as that. There's no installation, and you have automatic updates, which means you have worry-free maintenance. You can invoice on the go. So if you are on a job site, for example, and you had your phone or your iPad, rather than going home, writing up an invoice, and maybe it takes several days to get the invoice out to the client, with Xero, you can get paid faster with that direct connection to your client. You'll notice that every time I did something today, it was reflected in the dashboard in real time. So you have a very clear overview of your current financial position. And upfront costs are reduced or removed completely, so you don't pay for a licensing fee with Xero. And the same applies to many of our add-on partners. With all of Xero's pricing plans, there are no contracts. It's simply a month-to-month subscription. So that's it from me. Thank you all very much for watching today's presentation, and I hope you found it useful and helpful and you learned a little bit more about Xero. Thanks again and have yourself a great rest of the day.